Namaste. This is Yoga Therapy Podcast, and I'm your host, Shira Khan, yoga teacher, yoga therapist, and Ayurvedic wellness educator. In these conversations with experts in the field of yoga therapy, you'll find out what it is and how it can help you and your loved ones to reclaim well-being. We'll touch on physical as well as mental health, physiology, emotions, women's health, spiritual well-being, goddesses, and self-development in the fullest sense. Listening to another story can change ours, so thank you for showing up, and let's begin this journey together. Hello everyone, welcome and thank you for joining me. I'm so glad you're here and I'm glad to be doing this again. Today I'm doing a solo and I'm going to talk about some of the things that we covered last week with the RL. We talked about the Koshas and energy. And so for some of us, this is very normal. We know what we're talking about, especially in the yoga world, and even more so when we move into yoga therapy. These are very common terms because that's how we work. So I'm going to explain them a little here, and for that we need to go back to the philosophy underlying yoga and Ayurveda. So they're called sister sciences because they're both based on the bedrock of a very simple but very profound philosophy. So it's more than 5,000 years old, the Samkhya philosophy, and Samkhya actually means numbers, but it also means insight, depending on if you say Samkhya, it's numbers, and if you say Samkhya, then it's insight. So it's the insight of numbers, you could say. And the reason we say it's a numbers philosophy is because, as you'll see, I'll mention the process of separation from the one. We say the one is the start of all life, whether that's God, goddess, whatever you want to call it. In Samkhya and some of the philosophies of the Vedas, we have something before all this, which is called the golden womb. It's the full potential of all life. It's like a big yellow, golden, juicy egg. Okay, it's where all life has the potential to become before anything starts. So it's the one. And from the one come the two. The two are what the Chinese called yin and yang. And in Samkhya and yoga, we see it as nature. So Ayurveda talks about nature and spirit, or prakriti and purusha. And then if you call it in Tantra, it's called Shira Shakti. What else do we have for names to call this? Nature and spirit. Okay, so what Shakti is power. She is energy. She is that which creates and brings everything to life. And so in the Samkhya philosophy, the female energy is actually the active one, whereas in Chinese it's inverse. And Shiva is the passive one. That's why you see all these statues with Shiva being passive on the floor. Usually he's dead, in a dead position. And one of the goddesses sitting on him or standing on him, showing her gestures, her mudras, her gifts, wanting to give to her children. So she's Mother Nature. She is the life, she is the abundance. And whereas Shiva is consciousness and meditation. And so most of our practices, when you look at meditation, mindfulness, and even yoga, the classical yoga and Raja yoga is geared towards evolving our consciousness, whereas the physical yoga is geared towards the body, and it's body positive. It's embodying the fullness of self. And that's what we're going to explain here. So from the two, nature and spirit, Shiva and Shakti, from Shakti, this powerful life energy, come the three gunas. She holds within her the three gunas. And so this might sound all very difficult, but it's not. Just imagine there are three energies. You can see them whether you look at the mind, whether you look at the material world, or you look at science, the physics of science. And these are gravity, or tamas, sattva, which is like clarity, light, It's the nuclear energy. And then you have Rajas, which is movement, mobility. And this is like, what do they call this? Electrical energy, okay, if you're looking at the physics. So we have gravity, electricity, and the nucleus, yeah? So Sattva is the nucleus, Rajas is the activity, the movement, the change, the going between nucleus to some form. And the form is Tamas. So this is the three coming from the two, from Shakti, from this female goddess energy. And then from Tamas, we have the 5 elements. And this is one thing that I noticed that is missing in a lot of the texts, unless you look at Ayurveda and Tantra. So if we look at yoga texts, especially the Bhagavad Gita and Yoga Sutras, we don't talk about tamas very much because we're always trying to get over it so that we can arrive to consciousness. But we are living in a material world, and especially women, we have a lot of things to do. Our body's constantly changing physiologically because we have these changing seasons, we have these changing phases in our life, and then the cycles of the moon, which there's a lot of change. And so we need to work with tamas. We have to understand that from tamas come these 5 elements. So we've gone from 1, the golden womb, 2, Shira Shakti, 3, the gunas, and then 5, the elements. So what are the 5 elements? They're the same as the elements of the Greeks. So you have earth, most solid. Water, it's still solid. You can see it, you can hold it, but it's more fluid. And then you have fire, which is even more subtle than water. Okay, you can't actually hold it. You can definitely see it. So it's connected to sight, whereas water is connected to taste and earth is connected to smell, because you can smell the earth, you can smell the flowers. And then you have air, which is even more subtle, but you can see its effects on the leaves, you can feel it on your skin. So it's to do with feeling. And then space is the last element, because we need space to hold these 5 elements. It's still an element. You can still experience it. You know there's this space, the room you're sitting in, or the air that you embody. It's a space. So from these, we get the 3 doshas. And this is where Ayurveda is really handy. When you think yoga is the answer to everything, I got to a point where I found that yoga wasn't the answer to everything, that without the Ayurvedic principles and without working with the 3 doshas, which is a mix of these 5 elements, we can't heal everything. So that's really important to understand. We need to work with those elements. And so why am I telling you all this? Where is the koshas coming into this? So these 5 elements are connected to the 5 bodies, these 5 koshas. So the koshas are 5 different bodies, and that's how we work in the yoga therapy system. We look at the different bodies. So we're not just a physical body, and we're not just a mental body. That would be just too simple. We also have a physiological body, we say, which we actually call a breath body, the prana maya kosha. So that's why we work a lot with breath. The breath affects the hormones, the immunity, and anything in the chemical system, that which is constantly moving. Okay, so it's the water element again, whereas the physical body is the earth element. It's heavy, it's mechanical, it needs a lot of effort to be moved. And when we move into the physiological body, it's much more easeful. There's a lot of play, movement, joy. Life happens in water. Okay, first life on earth started because of water. Same in the womb, we have water before the baby can actually start to form. So it's the energy body and the breath body that we work with to heal. This is our second body. Then our third body is our mental body, which we are mostly preoccupied with, and it's our fire body. We think, we analyze, we prioritize, we measure. So we have that rational brain on the left hemisphere, and then we have the right hemisphere, which is our creative brain, our emotional, memory, kind of intuitive, but more that we start to connect the dots, and from everything that we've taken in, we receive. So this is the receptive brain, or the receptive aspect of mind, and from it we create. So we bring things into a different order and change things about all that we've taken in, all the impressions that we've taken in through that or rational mind, the active mind, the one that goes out there to find and experience and taste. And then we bring it all in, and then we keep it in memory, and we change things around, and then we become creative. We get new ideas, we make new projects, we start new things, we get new insights. Okay, so that's the third body. So each body is more subtle, and each body has a template. And then we have the fourth body, which is our psych body, or psychological body, but we call it the higher intelligence body. So Vijnana, Maya, Kosha. And our Vijnana, Maya, Kosha is our values, our beliefs, and the wisdom that we've garnered through our life, everything that we've understood, everything that we've taken in, and we've kind of looked at things and said, okay, there's truth behind that. I'm going to keep that. And then the other stuff that we don't know, or that we didn't digest, or was too hard for us to digest maybe when we were young, or just didn't have the awareness and the tools and the ability to deal with things, becomes unconscious. And that's also part of the psych body, or the wisdom body, the higher intelligence body. And then the last body, which is almost imperceivable for most people because we don't go there. For very sensitive people, they are probably mostly there. So this is your causal body. We call it the bliss body. So it's a very beautiful name. The bliss body is where we find our purpose. It's as I said, causal, meaning it causes us to come to life. Why did we come here? What's the reason? Our purpose, our dharma lies in this body, and we usually find it later in life, but some of us are seekers much earlier, so we're already connected at some level. And all the challenges in life that arise are bringing us back to this seed of our soul, the very beginning of why we are here. So that was 5 koshas, okay? And then we're going back to that energy body, the second body that I talked about. And because energy, what is energy? The movement from potential to actuality, either going towards it or from it. So energy is movement. It's always motion. It's always changing. So to bring back balance, or to undo a condition, or to change a pattern, whether that's mental or physical or physiological, we work with this energetic body, which is our breath body. That's why breathing is so important in yoga, and that's why doing a yoga practice, just a normal yoga class, feels so good, because there is some awareness and work with the breath. At some point, we start to extend that breath, and we can move in and out of positions slower, because we can control or work with that breath more fully. And when we work in yoga therapy, we really want to engage that body and find out the patterns. Are we holding the breath more on an unconscious level? Are we extending it? Are we breathing out or in too much? So all these affect our energy, what we were talking about with Yael, which is not obvious to most people, but you can see when people hold their breath, or you can see just by emotional patterns or mental thoughts, the way they're thinking, mindsets. You can imagine what kind of breath pattern they have too. So you work with that and the movements and combine it all together, so that we bring those 5 bodies back together, and there's more integrity and authenticity. We were coming back to that soul. And so the breath body, or this energy body that we're talking about, is the connection between physical and mental and soul. Okay, so it's the bridge. It connects, and we can heal and move from those beliefs and thoughts and opinions, move them and change them, and through breath and energy and physiology, so our hormones, our immunity, okay, we can move into the physical body and start to change patterns if we have built up conditions or diseases. So I like to really put a hyphen between the ease and the dis, because it's not ease. We are in unease at a certain body for a long time, and then it becomes a disease. Okay. What else would I like to say, just on ending this, is next week, so next Monday, is Women's Day. And I want to tie this into this, speaking about Shira Shakti. So even in the yoga tradition, there is a lot of emphasis on Shiva, on consciousness, on transcending, on overcoming the physical body. And I think that is one of the main reasons that we have such an imbalance globally, whether this is mentally, emotionally, politically, economically, financially, environmentally, of course. So we in Ayurveda and the Samkhya sees all of this as one. You cannot separate the person from the world. Okay, the world and the person are the same. And in Tantra and other traditions, we actually say that the microcosm, so your body, is a reflection of the macrocosm. And I would even go to say that autoimmunity, depression, anxiety, burnout, mental and emotional imbalances or conditions are due to our ignoring our nature, our own nature, so our own seed. Why did we come here? And also the nature of our environment, of our seasons, of this planet, and not honoring these cycles and the cycles for rest and allowing the earth to rest, always trying to gain more and harvest more and plant more and produce more, and never just giving the earth and women who have to bear children and constantly working, looking after their children. Even if you're not a mother, most women have this ingrained or inborn ideal to nurture and care for and share and give. So this can be exhausting when we don't actually take time to rest on a monthly basis. Okay, and we need to honor ourselves, but we also need our men to honor us. Okay, for sure we need to honor the men, but I think we've been doing that for millennia already, and that is the reason we have this huge imbalance now. And so turning back the clock a little and taking time to rest and nurture and be creative, use that part of our mental brain, the mind aspect that is emotional, that is memory, that is creative, that is reflective and passive, because we are so much in the brain that is rational, doing, creating, acquiring, analyzing, and it's too much. We can't do it all the time, and that's why there's such a prevalence of burnout. In my view, this is my own little theory, and I expand on this in my book. But I just want you to think about how you could stay more attuned with your body, your cycles. How can we reclaim the female energy and be more body positive, really embody this tamasic aspect, which is not negative. We don't only need to be sattvic and soft and clear and clean. We can also just be as we are, simply be. So we're going to end with a little practice. I'm going to try and keep it as short as possible, but when we're doing yoga therapy, we want to take things slowly, because that's how we go into that rest and digest, tend and befriend system, and that's what starts the healing process. It's only when we feel calm and collected that any healing or growth can happen. Okay, so just be patient, or do this another time when you can give yourself these 5 to 10 minutes. All right, so we're just going to get comfy. Make yourself a position either with bolsters, cushions, or on a chair, propping yourself up, and maybe even use a wall to lean against to make yourself really comfortable so that you can sit in an erect position, dignified like a mountain, as John Kabat-Zinn loves to say. So feeling your body, your feet, your hips, your legs, your knees, your hands resting somewhere on the thighs or the knees, wherever feels comfortable. And you just want to come to an easeful position, sukha. So feel the sitting bones making contact with whatever's underneath you. And then feel the whole weight of your spine being held by the sacrum and the pelvis. And then just breathe into the pelvis, let it soften. And then notice your breathing like waves rising and falling. And just allow yourself, your mind, your awareness and your consciousness to land on these waves of breathing. Rising with the in and falling with the out. Just give time to the mind. Imagine that it's like a leaf that slowly flutters down and lands on the waves of this breath. And then feel the shoulders, the skin of your face, and allow it to become soft. Feel your ears like Buddha ears, long and heavy, and melting towards the floor. Feel the skin of your back moving down towards the sitting bones. And just allow yourself to lift your heart up in the rib cage just a little, just so you create a bit of space in the belly. Letting the eyes be soft. Imagine they're gazing gently, whether you have them open or closed. And just turn the lips up slightly, like you have a cheeky Mona Lisa smile. And then I want you to feel your physical body. So what we've just scanned. Now I want you to scan it from your head, the crown, down the face, the neck, the shoulders, all the way down the arms and ribs, all the way to the pelvis, the legs, the feet, the toes, the ankles. And feel this whole body now as one. And just feel if the energy is heavy or spacious, light, open or contracted. And just feel any area in this body, the physical body, that feels good. And just rest there for a moment, becoming aware of this space, this place, this area. And notice the qualities of that good physical feeling, the sensations or essences. And if you could give it a color or a shape, what shape would that have? And then become aware of the rest of the body and notice if there are any areas that are maybe more difficult to connect with, or maybe you can't feel them at all. And just try and bring your awareness there for a moment. And then becoming aware of any areas that might be difficult or painful. And just bringing your awareness there. And also see if you can give it some color or shape. And then letting that go. And then we're going to move into our physiological body. So the physiological body is that breath body. It's also our energy body. So feel the energy within you. Is your energy rising? Is it falling? Is it moving a lot? Is it going round and round or to the sides? Is it flowing outward or in? Just see if you can notice, or maybe you can actually feel prana, we call it pranamaya kosha. You can feel the energy flowing in your arms, your fingers, maybe in your face, the neck. And again, just lifting the heart a little. Notice if you've dropped. And just be there. See if there's any tension in the pelvis and let that go. And then coming into a safe space in your energy body. What's a good place? Where do you feel energetically good? Maybe it's your belly, maybe it's the heart, maybe it's the knees or the toes. Could be anywhere. Just feel what feels good for you energetically now. So we're not trying to bypass anything, we're just feeling what is as it is. And then becoming aware of that whole body, this energy body from top to toes. And notice if there's anywhere that you can't connect to. Some spaces might just be unconscious, or you just can't connect with it. And that's fine, that's normal. We all have it. Doesn't matter how much you practice yoga. That's why we're still here. And then feel that, move into it if you can, or just bringing your awareness gently towards it. And letting that go, and then coming into any areas that might be difficult or heavy or painful in this energy body. So the flow, there's movement in this body, there's tingling, sensation. This is your pranic body. That's the life. It's constantly changing. And then notice if there's any difficult area and ascribe it a color, a shape, or a quality. And try and describe it for yourself. And then let that go. And then becoming aware of your mental body. So thoughts, and the mental body is not just in our head, it's again from top to toes. So notice the whole mental body, thoughts, and just feel what that mental body is like. What kind of movement does it have? Is it fast? Is it slow? Is it spacious? Is it contracted? And does it take up a lot of space? Maybe it takes up less space than your physical or your energetic feel of the body, or maybe more. So it just depends. And be aware. And then feel any part of this body that feels really good. The mental body, which thoughts do you love to rest in? And just be with that, absorb that, give it a color, a shape. If you could describe it or draw it. And then let it go and become aware of any areas that you can't connect with in the mind. Are there some dark or just unconscious areas, places you don't seem to be able to move into? And also give that a shape, a form, a color if you like, or not. You don't have to, but it's an easier way to relate to it. And then let that go and come into any area in the mind that doesn't feel comfortable, maybe negative thoughts or thoughts that keep repeating themselves that you don't really feel you want to think anymore. Opinions, judgment, these kinds of things. And then just feel them, and what kind of energy or movement does it have? What kind of color, quality, and shape? Is it round? Is it pointy? So just try and describe it for yourself. And then let go of that as well. And we're going to come into our higher mind or intelligence, the wisdom body, Vijnana Maya Kosha, which is our psyche, values, ethics, morals, beliefs, our potentials. Feel that body. It's your universal self. Feel it from head to toe, and just notice where it feels good in your psyche body, your value body, your core values and beliefs, your truth. And feel that as a shape, color, form. How can you rest in that? How can you allow yourself to absorb that goodness? And then letting that go. And moving into any areas that feel unconscious, or you just let go, I can't even move into that area. Just notice that. Become aware. Let it be as it is. And then let that go too. And moving into any areas that might be difficult, strenuous, there's resistance there. And if you don't want to go there, that's fine, don't go there. And just try and describe it from a distance. And come back to that safe space whenever you need to. And then release that. Let that go as well. And then we move into our causal body, so that bliss body. The reason why you came here. So don't make it a big question. Just think of any time that you felt oneness with someone else, or with a beautiful place in nature, or with a pet, or something you were doing that was so amazing and you felt just completely connected to the universe, or to something very deep within you, or maybe both at the same time. So this is your causal body. This is when we get to the soul. And just any memory that kind of feels like that, bring it up now. Breathe it in. Feel it throughout every part of your body and all your different bodies. Let it just nourish all those bodies. See if you can describe it for yourself. What kind of qualities? What form or shape does it have? What colors do you see in this body? And know that this body is always with you, and this is your real body. This is the seed of you. And so we're going to come back from this seed and allow that immersion to spill over to the other bodies as we move through into our wisdom body, the psych body. Feel your values being nourished by your soul, and then into your mental body. Feel the thoughts also being nourished by that. It's like it's cascading over. And then into your physiological, your breath body. You can breathe it in even. Really fill yourself up and let yourself absorb it before you breathe out. And then let it sink and settle into that physical body. And then just resting for a moment with that feeling of wholeness, of integrity. And whenever you're ready, you can start to move those fingers and toes, and maybe you want to move your body gently and just give yourself a moment before you open your eyes and slowly arrive to where you are. And so that was the practice, and I hope you enjoyed that. Please leave your comments and let me know how these practices feel for you. And that's it. Goodbye. See you next week. I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad I'm doing this. It's wonderful. I really love this. Be well.